Comrades, first of all, as a representative of Purogamana Yuvajana Prasthanam, I would like to salute the efforts of all comrades of the Virasam who have taken the initiative to organize this conference and for inviting us here. The intention of the conference to make out an overall strategy for class struggle in the ideological and cultural sphere by listening to voices from various parts of this country. It is great. Even though we know that the terror of feudalism and imperialism and comrade or bureaucratic bourgeoisie is responsible for every misseries of the oppressed masses. The particularities of the problems we face cannot be addressed through such generalization. For all of us who have, as Marx said, made into a point to change it, we have to go deeper into the issues faced by our societies and work in integration with the masses. As a representative from Kerala, let me present a picture of what has been happening in recent years. As the only state in India which is currently ruled by a front of leftist parties, it is often seen as a place where progressive values are protected by the state machinery. But when we examine the type of governance that is being carried out, hollowness becomes clear. The Kerala government's action towards the people's struggle have become increasingly fascist over the years. Most of us are aware of the wide range that all anti-CAA, NRC, NRP protests took all over India, and that had been true for Kerala also. Thousands of people, irrespective of age, religion and gender, had taken to the streets of Kerala. But when COVID hit, the state was able to effectively contain all popular outrage, and for 2 years, the streets of Kerala remained glum. One thing that should be mentioned at this point is the Pinarayi Vijayan government had promised that it would quash all FIR against the anti-CAA NRC protesters, but even now that has not been materialized. Hundreds of people had to get the cases finished by moving to court and paying fine. Whereas after Sangha Parivar protested against the women's entry in Sabarimala in 2018, all the cases that were filed against them during the period have been quashed without much delay. The approach is evident in all practices of Kerala state government, even though they make much noise against the withholding of various funds by the central government. A protest that revived the streets of Kerala again after COVID was against the Kerala project. It was an attempt to build Silver Lane high-speed railway in 2022, which would have resulted in the division of the state land area into two, the eastern coastal side and western hilly side. The government began implementation of this project in violation of all environmental laws, and the people began protesting in various parts of Kerala. There have been instances where women, children and the elderly have been brutally beaten by the police, but ultimately the government had pushed back by the strong resistance of people. However, the government continues its anti-people, anti-environment approach and is not ready to learn from the many environmental disasters, including flood and landslides, that have continuously shaken Kerala. In Wayanad district, where the Churalmala landslide took place in 2024 and claimed hundreds of lives. A tunnel is now being drilled through the fragile Western Ghats. As many scientists and ecologists, including Madhav Gadgil, who passed away recently, have warned any activities through the Western Ghats should be conceived with sensitivity. Yet, the ruling classes and their greed put forward such projects in the name of development that always endangered the life of the people. This is seen in the exponential increase in the wildlife attacks in districts adjacent to the Western Ghats. The working near to forest have sparked widespread protest against the government. The people have been voicing the question, is there no value for the life of a common man? During the campaigns that Purogamana Yojana Prasthanam undertook in the starting of 2025 in various parts of Malappuram district, the point we tried to raise were that in earlier time when elephant comes to near place with human inhabitation, they used to go away when we make noise by beating small drums. Now these elephants coming out of the forest are accustomed to the sounds of huge and numerous illegal mines there are. There are thousands of illegal mines in the Western Ghats region within Kerala's territory alone. Then how will the elephants be scared of small drums? Usually environmental activists try to say that it is human greed that resulted in such disaster. But the point we tried to emphasize in our campaign is that a human who established a mine site deep inside the forest and a human who goes to the forest to collect firewood for their kitchen is not doing the same harm to nature. It is wrong to equate both. Another version of endangering people's lives in the name of development can be seen in the construction of Vizhinjam port for Adani in Thiruvananthapuram. The port was built by spending crores from the government treasury, yet even the partnership projects only 1% of the profit share will be given to the government, that too after 20 years of its functioning. The governments did this by destroying the life of fisher folks and local residents. Where can a fisher community go if they lose their coasts? The people protest broke out in August 2022. Ironically enough, all the parliamentary parties, namely the CPM, BJP and Congress, came out in unison to confront the people's struggle against the construction of the port. But that is not surprising, because the Adani port was sanctioned in the name of Congress rule and only the work was carried out during CPM ruling. Yet another issue is that related to the National Highway number 66, which spans approximately 1640 kilometers running along India's Western Ghats from Panvel to Kanyakumari, passing through Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. There have been lot of fallouts in the construction of NH66 in Kerala, and people's protested erupted in many places recently. Hundreds of people participated in a protest against the toll plaza on NH66 in Kasaragod on the road to Mangalore. They had been arresting that they would tear down the toll booth if the toll fee collection were not stopped, and one night hundreds of people gathered and smashed the CCTV cameras and other facilities. The the protest was about to take more militant turn. The leadership clouded with the state administration and withdraw the protest when the district collector intervened. Speaking of the collector, another protest that went on far over 2 years but had been called off was that of the Nilambur Adivasi families. Their protests for land took place in two phases. First, in 2023, which lasted for almost a year, and the second in 2025. Purogamana Yojana Prasthanam was actively present during both these phases, but the phase was the phase was a hunger strike which went one for more than 300 days. Bindu Vailasheri, who was the leader of the protest, sat on a hunger strike in front of the ITDP office, and this protest ended in 2024 election period when the Malappuram Collectorate intervened and was ready to give signed a document promising to provide land in 6 months. The second phase began in front of the Malappuram Collectorate, demanding him to keep his word that too had to be collected of when none of the powers that be were ready to meet the demands of protesters. The protesters also were not ready to widen the protests through other means apart from sit-in protest. Another such protest in Kerala that happened last year and garnered perhaps global attention is that of ASHAs, organizing by the Kerala ASHA Health Workers Association related to SUCI Communist. They were able to gather thousands of women protesters to rally on ground for the economic demands of the ASHA workers. They had active backing of the feminist intellectuals also. They were able to use various means like cultural expression, house campaign, statewide long marches, etc. to increase popular support. This was also a protest that exposed the anti-worker, anti-woman face of the government to a lot of middle-class sections. Yet they too hard to call back this protest because the inability to shift to a qualitatively higher from of protesting. The government's approach to revolutionary politics and organization is similar. The Kerala government shot down 9 comrades through fake encounters. In 2016, the thunderbolt killed Comrade Kuppu Devaraj and Comrade Ajita in the Nilambur forest of Malappuram district and buried their bodies without releasing them to comrades or relatives. It was a continuation of history. The same approach that the British government took toward Variam Kunnathu Kunya Ahmadaji, the leader of Malabar agrarian struggle, and the Bhagat Singh. We all know how Comrade Basavaraj, the General Secretary of Maoist Party, was cremated hurriedly and his body not allowed to be claimed by family or comrades. It is the fear of the ruling classes then and now that the memories of these martyrs might rise to question and haunt them. If the Sangha Parivar ruling country commits lynching while loudly proclaiming its reactionary values, the ruling parties in Kerala have been committing similar atrocities against the people while proclaiming progressive. For the people living in Kerala, we need to confront the Brahmanical Hindu fascists and the Brahmanical Hindu fascists at the center and the social fascists in power in Kerala. Another measure to repress and contain the struggle is the use of fascist law like UAPA, UPA, or calling UPA. The ruling LDF and the CPIM party claim to be against the UAPA in principle. However, the government is imposing UAPA on even the constitutional rights of individuals, including the dissemination of political ideas. For an example, when the UAPA case against Comrade Rubesh, a Maoist political activist who is in prison in Kerala, was disposed of by the court, it was the same CPM government that approached the Supreme Court to have reinstated. It was through protest and pressure from political and cultural activists that the state had temporarily stopped giving sanction to UAPA and other seditious laws. But recently, in the wake that was filled in 2030, this is enough proof for qualitative shift in how dissent will be dealt with from now on. Not only this, the number of police custodial murders in Kerala police station had an increase during Pinarayi Vijayan's tenure as chief minister. Around 70 people were murdered and many more faced physical torture inside police station and on the streets. People reaction towards this has also been changing. Recently, in the light of many CCTV visuals of police atrocities gaining attention, there has been a massive demand through RTI for hundreds of visuals from Thiruvananthapuram city police station alone. It could also be observed that in recent times, the youth have started question and refuse to bow down to the police when they are harassing them without any reason. Now, in the light of all this happening in Kerala, we need to talk about role and responsibility of youth in the resistance and struggle to build a better future. When we look at the various protests that happen across Kerala recent years, the youth have engaged very creatively in all of them. Apart from the Kerala protest, Adani Port protest, NH 66, Asha protest, another one to be mentioned in the Palestine solidarity protest that took place after the Tufan al-Aqsa on 19th in October 9 in 2023. Youth engagements in political issues can be seen more online than offline, but these protests mentioned earlier are also proof that when the time ripens, the youth will take the streets. Another creative expression worth mentioning is the widespread support to political rap music popularized by singers like Vedan, Gabri and Gauri Lakshmi. Now it's upon us to tap this creativity of youth. One thing that should be clarified is that it's a wrong thing that today's youth do not participate in politics. They have no social commitment. They have become an apolitical anarchy group. Just looking at the history of the last 10 years shows that the youth have been overwhelmingly participating in the various protests all around the country, and there is an increase in participation of women and queer persons. Braving attacks by the police and the Sangha Parivar and long imprisonments, they have expressed themselves creatively and achieved greater levels of unity. Hence, we should stop the approach of saying that students and youth are mindless and need our guidance. Rather, we should integrate with their struggles and become one with them, politically and ideologically strengthening their organizing capacity. Only then will our future struggles be successful. Though I have tried to present my views based on our organizational experience from working in Kerala, I hope that the crux of the matter can be applied to other parts of our country also. The point is that, as the conference also aptly puts it, there is an urgent need to progress struggles in the cultural sphere to be able to connect with the youth and thereby unleash their revolutionary potential. I conclude my words by wishing that may this conference become a good platform for pondering upon this question in every week of our work forward. Let's remember all the martyrs who gave their life for the liberation of oppressed. Lal Salam. Amar Veer Luku Johar.